Good morning. It's Friday, May the 8th, and this is The Drill. Thank you very much. I'm Ron, your host and the only true conservative in the United States today, because I don't take my cues from the left. I don't speak extemporaneously, but script my podcasts. I will not pretend to be neutral. I will not simply give you the facts and let you decide, and I will not try to get in your psyche. I'm partisan, and I'm here to convince and persuade. I created this podcast to answer the question most asked by conservatives, namely, what can I do? My podcast is short, approximately 5 to 10 minutes long, because shorter podcasts are easier to download and listen to. I have been listening to conservative talk radio since 1989. I've grown up in a socialist household, and I've seen the destructive effect of socialism up close and personal. My podcast is made available through Spreaker and can be heard on iTunes, Spotify, Google, and YouTube. Today, what can I do? Quote of the day, the critique of Sean O'Neill's article in Men's Health magazine, and the exoneration of General Flynn. All that when I come back. Thank you. What can I do? Make the presumption for the status quo. Don't spread the disease. Resist subversion. Subversion is simply black is white, right is wrong, good is bad, ugly is beautiful, that kind of thing. Mind your own business. Listen and read carefully. Resist the pressure to prove a negative. Criticize. Trust yourself. Be realistic. Learn to love the concept and abstraction, and don't be reactionary. Next up, the quote of the day. Thank you. The quote of the day comes from Charlie Kirk. How are Democrats in San Francisco handling this pandemic? City officials are housing homeless people in hotels and giving them free alcohol, tobacco, and weed. Democrat logic. Going to church is dangerous, but giving homeless people free drugs, booze, and weed is just fine. Up next, the critique of the Men's Health article that I read yesterday. Thank you. Mr. O'Neill, the author of Men's Health article that I read yesterday, is a lefty. We know that he's a lefty because of the way he communicates, more specifically, the way he writes. He pretends that reality is whatever the majority says it is, and therefore he must conduct polls and surveys and consult with experts, what Ayn Rand referred to as a witch doctor. The problem with this theory or method is that it's wrong. We know that it is wrong not only because it's obviously so, but also because of the results. All of Mr. O'Neill's research amounts to nothing. He draws no conclusions whatsoever. And this is the actual goal of the left, to trivialize all communications, and there is nothing more trivial than Sean O'Neill's article. Next up, the redemption of General Flynn. Thank you very much. General Flynn was exonerated yesterday by Attorney General Barr. Mr. Barr filed a motion with the courts to dismiss all charges against General Flynn in the face of evidence that shows that the justice system was manipulated by members of the FBI in order to, ultimately, nullify the presidential election of 2016. Bill O'Reilly and Glenn Beck were on the radio this morning analyzing the events that happened yesterday. Mr. Beck was trying to convince Mr. O'Reilly that the Democrats were subjectivizing the results of the investigation, that Representative Schiff claims that the problem lies not with the FBI, but with the Attorney General's office. The Democrats are trying to sell the idea that reality is whatever the majority says it is. This is false, obviously so. Mr. Beck and Mr. O'Reilly need to tell this to the American people and tell it to them as often as necessary to get the point across. The results of the investigation show that members of the FBI conspired to thwart the will of the American people and frame General Flynn in the process. It is as simple and ugly as that. Back in a minute. Who is a true conservative? He's the person that has the courage of his convictions and is confident in what he knows. He's the person that understands that cultural conservatism is more important than political conservatism. He's not selfish, but minds his own business. He acts like an adult. He's patriotic and uses common sense. He expresses what he knows and does so with certainty. He makes judgments, refuses to speculate, speaks clearly and definitively, and is not afraid to say no. He's open-minded, asking why rather than why not. He is consistent, credible, and influential, not ashamed of his existence, unafraid to learn or correct his mistakes. He's a normal American, and he's better than the socialist. He's a better friend, father, brother, family member, and a better person, period. You have to know that. If you don't know with every fiber of your being that being a true conservative is best, then you're wasting your time. And that brings me to the end of another episode of The Drill. Remember that the left has no authority, no power, and they can't win. Think about it.